Alright, we are going to be writing equations in standard form. What is standard form? Well, standard form is this form right here, ax plus by equals c. Now, I'm going to skip down to down here. Standard form is different than other forms for a couple of reasons. A, B, and C are just numbers. They don't stand for anything. Okay, I know in the other one you had m is the slope, b is the y-intercept, or x1 and y1 are your points. A, b, and c are just constants. They're just numbers. They don't stand for anything. So, a couple things about standard form. You cannot have fractions. Okay, so I'll teach you how to get rid of those. X and y have to be on the same side, ax plus by, and the coefficient of that x term cannot be negative, so it's got to be a positive ax plus or minus by equals plus or minus c. Okay, now when we write equations, we have three scenarios. We could be given a point and a slope, we could be given 2 points, or we could be given the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, and we're going to go through all of those three forms today. So, starting here, given the point and a slope, what we're going to do is step 1, use that information and write the equation in point slope form. When we have a point and a slope, remember y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so we have our x1 and y1, and slope is 2/3. So y minus 4 equals 2/3 times x minus 3. Okay, now if your slope is a fraction, we're going to multiply both sides by the number in the denominator. Now, on the right, when we multiply by 3, it's multiplying 3 times 2/3 times x minus 3, just once, okay? Those 3's cancel. We're left with 2 times x minus 3. On the left, when we multiply, we have to multiply the whole side by 3. So we've got to distribute that 3 to both the y and the 4. Now, why don't we distribute the 3 to the x and the minus 3 on the right? Because when we do this, 3 times this whole thing, when you're multiplying 2/3 and x minus 3, 3 is getting multiplied by the whole thing. Okay, so that's why. So anyways, on the right, those 3 cancels. We are going to distribute the slope, so we're going to distribute the 2. We have 2x minus 6 on the right. On the left, we're going to distribute that 3 through, so 3y minus 4. Okay. Step 3, we're going to use opposite operations to move the x term to the left. We're going to minus the 2x over to this side, and the constant term to the right, so we're going to add the 4 over to here. So we have negative 2x. 3y is positive, so plus 3y. The 4 is canceled. 2x minus 2x cancels. Negative 6 plus 4 is negative 2. And then step 4, only if x is negative, we have to multiply every term by negative 1. So we're going to multiply everything times negative 1. So negative 1 times negative 2 is positive 2x. Negative 1 times 3y is negative 3y. Doesn't look like 3y. And negative 2 times negative 1 is plus 2. Okay, so that's how you do it. You write, when you're given a point and slope, you write in point slope form. If the slope is a fraction, we get rid of the denominator by multiplying both sides by that denominator and distribute it through. Use opposite operations to move x to the left with a y and move the constant terms to the right. And then only if x is negative, you multiply everything by negative 1. Alright, let's look at what's next. The U-tries, go ahead, pause the video, try those. Now, we have given 2 points. When we're given 2 points, just like we learned in the last topic, you first need to calculate the slope, okay? So there's your x1, y1, x2, and y2. Our slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That gives us a 1/3. Alright, then choose either point, and it doesn't matter which one. Alright, if we go with the one on the left, 5 and 2, we have y minus 2 equals 1/3 times x minus 5. That's a 3. All right, now follow the steps on the last slide. So we multiply both sides by the denominator. Since we have a fraction, the 3's cancel. On the left, we're distributing the 3, so it's 3y minus 6. On the right, we're distributing the 1, so it's 1x minus 5. From there, we need to minus the x and bring it over. That cancels. We're going to add the 6 and bring that over. So we have negative x plus 3y equals 1. And our very last step is to get x positive, so multiply everything by negative 1. We have x minus 3y equals negative 1. So x minus 3y equals negative 1. There's your try. Go ahead and pause the video and do that, and I'm going to switch to the next slide. Alright, last one. Given the slope and y-intercept. Alright, when we are given the slope and y-intercept, remember back to chapter 3, we can just write it in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So, slope, remember, is your m. The y-intercept is b. So our equation, y equals 1/3 x plus 4. Step 2, if the slope is a fraction, multiply every term by the number in the denominator. So we're going to multiply every term by 3. 3y equals, our 3's cancel here, we have 1x plus 4 times 3 is 12. Use opposite operation to get the x term on the left, so minus 1x. Now we have negative 1x plus 3y equals 12. And then if x is negative, multiply every term by negative 1. So everything by negative 1, distribute it through. We get a positive 1x, or just x if you want, minus 3y equals negative 12. And that's it. That's all for this topic. So go ahead, complete the last U-tries on the next slide, and we'll see you tomorrow.